I'd like to tell you the story about how my parents met. My dad was living down at what's now Spears Market, and in those days, it was Spears gas station. And there was a little bitty building about 10 by 10 that had a few items in it that you could call it a market. Anyhow, Daddy was all greasy and yucky from working at the gas station. So he heard there was a dance that night up in Forestill, and it was going to be up in the Odd Fellows Hall, which is 3 stories tall, and the second floor was a spring dance floor that bounced up and down when you danced on it. And everybody loved to dance on it. So whenever there was a dance there, it got pretty crowded because everybody loved to dance on that dance floor. So he didn't have time to cook. He just ran uptown. He was going to just cook himself or get a hamburger at the little deli thing that became Ludolf's grocery store years later when I was a kid. So he was up there. He put an apron on over his head so he didn't get splattered any worse with grease while he made himself a hamburger. And he was leaning on the side of the door thing out a bit, and underneath it came my mother. Well, who was to be my mother. And she looked up at him as she went under, and he said, "Well, hello." And she said, "I'd like a soda, please." And he said, "Sure," because she was really pretty. And he realized she didn't know who he was, or that he did not work there. So he made her a soda, and then she decided to have a hamburger too, because his looked so good. So they chatted like women will do with people who work in places like that, you know. It's like you might not talk to a stranger like that, but by God, you talk to the nobodies like crazy. Well, she left and joined her friends up at the dance hall. Daddy rushed home and got himself clean and gorgeous and ran up to the hall too. So she thought it was so funny that she thought he was the cook at the hamburger place. And anyway, he asked her to dance with him, and she did. And she loved dancing with him. My father was a great dancer, and so was my mother. And they just cut the light fantastic. Well, by the time the evening was done, Daddy was in love with Mama, and Mama was in love with Daddy. And the rest was history.